When I first came up in the community, I was 6.
6 years old.
6 years old, and I saw pretty much the transformation of Bronxdale, Soundview, Monroe, Castle Hill, all come together from it all being separated by the lots, and the lots being used as natural boundaries. Short Haven being considered white boy land, and if you weren't known really by them, as soon as we came up in there as minorities, we get chased out. Right. And there's a lot of history there with that. I was one of the first Latinos actually to break that barrier and be accepted socially by the white folks down in that area. So when I used to come down with the brothers, I was like the go-between, which was like a buffer for a long time, and wouldn't get messed with down there. So that was one of the reasons why I was known there, and actually seen the transformation of the gangs come back in. I was a baby Nomad in the 3rd Division at the age of 10, and was in there for a couple of years. That's how I came. I always hung out with older cats, so came across BAM. They were down with cats that I used to run through, and my partners used to do the trains also with Graffiti, Clyde, J2, and a few other guys there. But grew up with a lot of guys up out of Soundview and in the area, and a lot of the main staple was we all came through Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club, and that's how we were able to cross line through sports and know about each other, and that's how the camaraderie started. But also Kips Bay, at nighttime when the older membership used to come in, people used to all come in with their colors, so you used to see all representation of all the different gangs in there.
What year is that?
Talking 71, 72, maybe early 73.
So you saying Kips Bay, you would see different colors, gang colors come in.
Right.
You said what year is that now?
You're looking 71, 72,
71, 72.
Late 70, you could even include in there. But what would happen is that sports was the common thread.
Right.
But you get cats that come from Monroe and their crew, and out of Monroe you had a lot of different gangs up out of Monroe. Savage Skulls, Immortals.
Oh yeah.
Were up in there. Soundview, Black Spades, Savage Nomads were up in there. Spanish Frankie was president of the Spades, and then you had Young Spades, and then you had Black Spades over on the far side, closer to the lots on Lacombe Avenue, there, which was all underdeveloped, and the marshes and the fields were out there. Water before it was even developed, and people used to use that as actual sidewalks to be able to walk into one community to another. Monroe was separated from Soundview with the natural dirt hills and grass that wasn't there in those roads. White Plains Road didn't exist, and that was a big mound of dirt, and you had the 131 playground back there, and in actuality the 131 basketball courts is probably one of the most famous rumbles, was held back there by a multitude of gangs that hit the front page of the Daily News that someone got killed in the rumble.
What year? Do you remember what year that is?
70, and I'm taking you back, late 71, 72 at the latest.
71, 72. So you saying you was a nomad?
I was a baby nomad. I got brought in. My cousin brought me in, initiated me behind the old Beach Theater up off of Randall Avenue. There's some steel doors that were in there. And what happened is people used to lift each other up over the steel doors. They'd pop them open, and initiation rites would be conducted. They would slam the doors back, and you'd actually go through the beat-through out there. So there's a lot of history up and through that area.
Where were the nomads? Like where?
Well, the nomads actually spread from Soundview all the way as far as deep into the South Bronx.
Where did they start? Where they started?
Frankie was very instrumental in bringing them in. Started in the How to South Bronx. They were also up off of Mount Eden, and they're still entrenched up there if you even go up there today. Yeah, right off of Mount Eden, number 4 train, right on the hill going up towards Bronx Lebanon Hospital.
Right.
And they were in that part of the South Bronx, which is the Grand Concourse, and in between Jerome Avenue and Mount Eden. So, they slowly spread across and came onto this side, Southern Boulevard, Simpson, and started reaching over into the Soundview area there. Black Spades for a long time, obviously, Bronx River, Bronxdale, some of Soundview there. Grew up with a lot of those guys, known them for a long time. Grew up with guys such as Sundance, rest in peace. Chuck Freeze, Jazzy 5 MCs, a lot of those guys I grew up with there. And you know, that's how it all kind of just really all started. You know, Sundance was considered to be the MC for Africa Bambaataa back in the days, and that's how it all started when Bam was actually collaborating with Red Alert, and Mario was the one that had the system though. And everything was around Mario because Mario had the system and was already out in the parks. No MC, just his echo box and his mic, you know, with the Disco King Mario effect that he used to create that made him real famous with the echo box. And
he just had an echo box. He didn't have an MC. It was just him.
It was just him initially, you know, and he would have the system set up out, usually out in Rosedale Park, which is one of his main thresholds right there.
Right.
And you need to get up in there, and it was always Disco King Mario.
Yeah.
And that echo box was something that always everybody was fascinated. He was the only one with it at that point. And introduced
what
it
year?
out there.
Do you remember what years this was?
Yeah, back early 70s. I would say Mario 71.
71 with the echo box? Is 71?
Yeah, way back then. And you know, it was something new. It was another piece of the puzzle, you know, that evolved into that became real big, you know. Flash was one of the masters with the echo box,
right?
You know, with the Furious 5.
But that wouldn't be 71 though, right? Flash was later on, right?
Yeah, but Flash was later on, but I'm talking about early, you know. Remember, you got pioneers that are trailblazers. Right. Trailblazers open up the doors for others.
Right.
You know, the one thing about Bam is that Bam was an organizer.
Right.
And that's really what I would consider Bam's claim to fame is that, you know, when gangs broke up, you know, Bam was able to organize.
Right.
And then we got into organizations. And then, you know, Bam also, you know, with his trip to Africa and everything else and getting that knowledge there and coming back, now became Africa Bambaataa and put everything together. And next thing you know, Bronx River Community Center became the home of the Universal Zulu Nation.
Right.
But Bam always, early on in his music days, came over to Mario to use Mario's system.
Okay.
And that's just a fact right there. So
and you remember that? You remember all that?
I remember that because a lot of my cats used to be around as his record bearers, you know. Be carrying records. My man Chuck Freeze, you know, was one of those kind of cats, you know, with Kool Herc, and he's real close with Kool Herc too. And you know, Chuck was started with records, then started to MC, and then started to hold it down in the game. And
Mario had the echo chamber back in '71.
Yeah, back early in the days, he was.
So. What was your experience, your first experience?
My first experience with Mario, in actuality, in between the projects, I think that's 1715, right across from White Castle, in the little square right there. My man lived in the first building right there, which I think is 1715. And what happened is, man, I used to live right down, my aunt lived down the block. And I would come over from Soundview, but on the way from Soundview, when I would hear the rumblings, he was going to be out there, or he had set up as coming across, I would always encounter him. And that's how I started going to the jams, you know. You could hear the music, you just follow the music.
Right.
And the music would lead you right there. And he started out in front of the buildings. And then when he was really getting out there, he was set up in Rosedale Park and just pretty much locked down the park.
And you saying 71, 72.
Yeah.
How old was you then?
So, you know, it takes me way back, but when I look at hip hop, Mario was the first person that really, really touched me when it came to the mix and playing music outside on this side of town. I can't give it to nobody else but Mario, you know. And then, like I said, Bam and organizing also came out and started reaching people with the music and formed the Zulu Nation. But you know, Bam used to come over and cut deals to use the system.
Right, Bam experiences, Mario was the first bringing it out, the music out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I feel Mario was the first, and then what happened was this, you had a couple of the cats that grabbed spot, and then what it became almost like, when you look at Herc, and when you look at Bam, and you look at Mario, it's like they were the first in their communities.
Right.
So, you know, I think sometimes hip-hop history is a little obscured because what happens is everybody's repping their community.
Right.
So their community was the first to do this and do that. And I think that's where the hip-hop culture and history gets a little obscured